the Australian Voices, we're now about 30 years old. We were founded in the early 90s with the express vision of promoting Australian music. Every piece that you'll hear on Saturday is by a living Australian composer. And so we're really excited to present a whole heap of diverse music by Australians, including Indigenous music. Will Barton's written this fabulous piece which sounds like a didgeridoo. Stephen Leake has this music that sounds like the rainforest. We sing about the beach. We sing about Australian history and basically telling Australian stories through song.
Oh, okay. That sounds fabulous. And what sort of response do you get from your audiences as you started to explain what Australian Voices do and how you go about it? Because, so I say, it's a very different style of choir, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah. Well, we love to do stuff that pushes the limits of what a choir can do. On Saturday, you'll hear a few pieces which are really not so much music as they are soundscapes. I mentioned Stephen Leake's piece, Condalilla. That's one of our pieces that we've been doing for years. And there's a piece of mine called Painted in Dirt, where the choir is making all animal sounds and singing in styles that are from all over the world, including harmonic singing, Tibetan throat singing, and that all comes together to create this amazing wall of vibrant sound. And actually, often we get audience members just going, oh my gosh, I didn't realise a choir could sound like that. And if you get that response, that's exactly what we're looking for.
Yeah, pushing the boundaries. I like the idea of that too, it's not just you're coming to a concert, it's a polished performance. It's more than that. You're taking it further than just a simple polished performance. You're really trying to showcase just what sort of an instrument vocal is, because it really is that, isn't it?
Well, that's it. I mean, the human voice is the oldest instrument in existence. And we're so tuned in as people to respond emotionally to the human voice. If you think about it, most music that people in the world listen to has a singer with it. And so I think choirs are in a really special place, not only to do a whole heap of extravagant sounds, but also just to tell really emotional stories. We've got some beautiful pieces, one which is setting the words of an address by the Prime Minister of Australia during the First World War. And that's a piece that always gets a beautiful response. It's a beautiful piece by Gordon Hamilton called Dark Hour. And you can tell these stories that emotionally resonate with people with the human voice, I think. And it's such an amazing instrument, so versatile, so emotional, and just the perfect conveyor for musical expression.
Now, you've given us a bit of an example of the choir here. Take me through what this piece it's called Kalkadonga Yodu. I don't know whether I've pronounced that right or not.
No, you got it. It's Kalkadonga Yodu. It's one of my favourite pieces that we do, and it's actually one of the pieces that we're going to be workshopping with local singers. So we have a performance in the evening, but beforehand, we have a free workshop session for anyone to show up and come and sing with the choir, and one of the pieces we'll be singing is this one. It's a piece by William Barton, who I mentioned earlier, and is an Indigenous composer and one of the most amazing didgeridoo players. If you haven't heard that name, William Barton, go check him out, because he is absolutely phenomenal. And in this piece, he makes the choir almost sound like a didgeridoo. We're singing in language. We're singing in the Kalkadoon language, which is his native language of the people of the Kalkadonga Nation out near Mount Isa. And then there's these sounds that happen around in the choir, which is actually the sounds that Will makes into the didgeridoo and sings into the didgeridoo as he's playing them. And when you get a whole choir to do it, it's this really extraordinary, unique sound that you don't hear anywhere else. And I think it's actually an extraordinary, uniquely Australian sound. And so I'm really excited to show these workshop participants how to do this song and to work together with the community to perform and get this piece happening with lots of people.
All right, now finally, John, we'll get to the details of where and when the concert is in just a moment, but let's just quickly focus on you. What's it like being able to come back to your hometown of Bundaberg and bring your latest, how would we describe it? Your latest pet project, because that's kind of what it is, isn't it? It really is. You're really enjoying this tenure as the artistic director for this choir.
Yeah, of course. Look, I am so thrilled be taking this choir to Bundaberg. We've done a bunch of touring. One of our goals is not only just perform Australian music, but bring that music to Australians. When I was in school, I remember the Australian Voices coming and touring and performing in Bundaberg. And that was actually a really important point for me, because I remember hearing this choir and going, whoa, what can a choir do? And I think it's really important for groups like ours to not just perform in capital cities, but come out and actually perform to all of Australia, because Australia is not just Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne. And so as someone from Bundaberg, which is a town that has this amazing musical community and a place where I grew up, I learned about music there, I think it's really exciting for us for me, having come down and lived in Brisbane for the last 10 years, to come back and actually give back to the place that gave me so much musically as a kid.
Yeah, I think that's the brilliant thing about our town, is that it really does punch above its weight. When you look at the number of different schools and instrumental music programs and the way that people continue to find ways to express themselves through music, even into adulthood.
Oh, it's an extraordinary place. And as I say, I'm from Bundy. Both my parents live in Bundy and we're in the music community there. There's so much music happening in Bundy. It's really just a phenomenal town for music. And I'm really excited that we can come and be a part of that for a day with the Australian Voices.
All right, John, let's have a look at the vital statistics. Where, when, and how much?
So we have I mentioned before, we have a workshop, which is a free workshop for any singers that goes from 3 to 4 p.m. And then we have our concert, which I recommend everyone to come along. That's 5 p.m. concert, should be finishing by 6:30, so you're off in time for dinner. And it's at Holy Rosary Church. So 5 p.m. at Holy Rosary Church. Adult tickets are $30, concession $20, and $15 for students.
Pretty reasonable price too for an hour and a half concert of a vocal ensemble.
Well, look, we try and keep our prices as low as we can when we're touring, because we know that it's important and we just want to get lots of people there. So we're really happy to be able to give you these really quite good prices. As you say, these are reasonable prices. Come along, it's a bargain. And it will be absolutely fabulous evening.